Hello. Yeah.
We're all on.
Good afternoon and welcome to the regular meeting of Osoyoos Town Council, Monday, June 2nd, 2:00 p.m. in Council Chambers. First item up would be the adoption of minutes from previous meetings, including the Committee of the Whole minutes from May the 20th, 2014, and regular open minutes from May the 20th, 2014. Any council input? Hearing none, they will be adopted by consensus. No business arising. Under late items, actually the late item is going to be a delegation, so I'll need a motion to include a report by Jordan Hedinga on the Demers application for the Wish property. Councillor Rhodes, excuse me, that would be that way. Councillor Plant Ryan. Any discussion? Oh, I need a seconder on that. That's the both of them?
Yep.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Going to water matters, there is none at this meeting. Under correspondence, under Desert Sun Counselling and Resource Center, a letter of appreciation as part of the agenda. They were acknowledging a $4,000 grant given to them. We need a motion to receive. That would be Councillor Rhodes. McCordoff. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor for receipt, please. Going to correspondence, which we just did, into bylaws, into business, and I will bring forth that delegation now. Jordan, do you want to make that presentation?
Mr. Mayor, do we not have an added gyro concession that should be added to the agenda?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. That's, I don't see it on there. That's why.
No,
Yes.
no, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we should just add it.
Okay. I'll take Councillor McCordoff. I'll take that motion to add another item onto the agenda, which will be a report on event at the Gyro Park, at the Gyro concession. Okay. Seconder, Councillor Rhodes. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will bring that forth. Let's bring that forth as under business 7.
Okay.
Thanks, Councillor McCordoff. Okay, now we'll have the report on the Wish property application.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Council and Mayor, for having me. My name is Jordan Hedinga. I work for a group out of Kelowna called Kent McPherson. We represent Kevin Demers on this property, which is Pembroke Developments, and it's the Wish property. So just an update. Back in December 2nd, 2013, I made a presentation. We made the application to Council. At that time, there was conversation by Council. It was not supported, but we took those comments and opposed to taking that application and just bringing it straight to the Agricultural Land Commission. We took the comments, took the public feedback, and worked on the file with staff, trying to make it something that we thought was a much better application, something that the town of Osoyoos could use and appreciate and hopefully support fully on this application. So I'm just going to go over a quick little review of the application and then highlight the changes that were made. The application is 2 parts. There's the exclusion application for the property, the Wish property, which is 21.8 acres. There's also an inclusion of 31.1 acres of, sorry. Is that better?
Is the mic on?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you're good. Sorry about that.
I'm not going to start from the beginning. An inclusion of 31.1 acres into the Agricultural Land Reserve. Subject property is located right along the east boundary of Osoyoos, right along the highway south of Osoyoos Indian Band. New property that they just acquired. There's a new Petro-Canada on the corner of their property, so we're directly to the south of that. Originally, the property was an apple and pear orchard. Currently, there's about 6 acres of the 21.8 that's actually in production. This image shows the agricultural land reserve layer on top of the ortho. So the light green shows anything that's inside the agricultural land reserve. The subject property is highlighted in red. And then below that, there's about half dozen waterfront properties that are within the agricultural land reserve. And to the east is a single property zoned tourist commercial in the agricultural land reserve. OIB's properties in the ALR, but of course they don't have to adhere to the ALC's regulations. So previous ALR applications, so prior to Kent McPherson being involved, there were numerous applications both by the Wish family and by Mr. Demers. The applications previously had council support, would get to the Agricultural Land Commission, and historically would get shut down, generally for the exact same 3 reasons. So I've highlighted the 3 items. Generally, the applications had a net loss to the ALR. There's no benefit to agriculture, and also previous applicants kept on claiming that it was too soggy, you couldn't grow anything. So those are the 3 items that the Agricultural Land Commission couldn't support, so they got refused. So what we've done is we've tried to address those exactly those 3 issues in our application. So inclusion of, not only inclusion of land, but we're including more land and of higher quality. There's also protecting these, so there's an organic vineyard, which is the Mariposa Vineyard. It's an organic vineyard. We're proposing to include 31.1 acres into the ALR, so that there's a net and a gross benefit of agriculture. The land that's being included has a higher soil classification. And then also there's going to be substantial benefit to the community, which we'll go through, but that includes dedication of 45th Street, a fire hall site, public access to a clubhouse and amenity, also development cost charges, and increase taxation. So in 2007, the Osoyoos adopted the current official community plan. There's 2 items in there that I would like to highlight. The first is this official community plan street network map. What that shows is 45th Street connecting through OIB's property down to Lakeshore Road. There's been numerous engineering reports that identify that the need isn't today, but the need's in about 20 years, where the current network is going to fail. So by dedicating this, putting a road reserve and constructing a portion of it, now we can be proactive so that when the time actually comes that the road network does start to fail, the land's in place for that. Second slide shows the official community plan growth area. So there's what's on the lower end called A2 East Main Street Corridor. And you can see where the corridor kind of goes all the way to the east and then stops right at the Wish property. Right now with OIB's dedication, they have their Petro-Canada gas station, future development plans. It's a logical assumption that at least the north tip of this would also join into that Main Street corridor, or the growth area. And also everything in blue there shows the urban areas, and it kind of cuts around the Wish property. So it's a logical extension of densification, urban growth, and again, instead of just growing into the ALR, we're trying to replace and better the ALR through our application. Orientation map, so the subject property, the Wish property, is at 4927 Main Street. Mariposa Vineyards is about 18 kilometers to the west of the property. So just for areas, currently this was the planting of Mariposa Vineyards about 3 years ago. So they pulled water, got water licenses from the creek all the way up. So it's fully irrigated, fully planted. So under construction. If you drive by today, so this was last summer, so it's since then growing, it's producing, and part of our application obviously is by including this land into the agricultural land reserve, we're also financially compensating the property owner so that they have some capital to continue and to invest in their business. So again, not just protecting ALR lands, but hopefully improving and supporting agriculture in the community and in the neighborhood. So agricultural land capability, the areas highlighted in red would be the areas that we're proposing to include into the agricultural land reserve. So it's 31.1 acres that's going in. Just about 22 acres are currently planted. So that's excluding all the road and the valleys. So more land's going in. This agricultural land capability study shows that the class is generally class 1, class 2. So out of a 7-class system, it's right up there as some of the best. It has great air drainage, great water drainage, great sun exposure. So for the property, it's phenomenal for growing grapes, phenomenal for producing. That's in contrast. Again, I'm not saying at all that the Wish property isn't good agricultural land. Probably anything in this valley is good agricultural land. The agricultural land capability of the Wish property is class 2, class 3. So slightly worse, but it's produced in the past, it's producing now. What we're looking at doing though is putting in better land that's actually producing, land that has a vineyard on it, and taking out a property that meets urban growth criteria, something that would fit into the community's plan. This was the previous development plan that we showed back in December. So there's a few items on here that I'd like to point out that I guess were brought up as issue items from both council and by the public. Along Highway 3, there's a big block of commercial, which we believe kind of added to the urban growth area. Recognizing afterwards that adding new commercial down there is going to compete with the downtown core. It's not going to strengthen the downtown or the heart of the community. So that was seen to have a bit of a concern. The fire hall site is located 1 unit off, so the fire hall site was lot 2. Poor exposure, poor visibility, kind of tucked into the back. Another concern that we heard was along the very south of the property, we had the RV pads. Some of the neighbors that are on Lakeshore Road, or Lakeshore Drive, sorry, had concerns that having RVs right next to them, it's an unknown and it's probably something that they weren't too excited about. So had to contemplate that. And finally, the last one was the economic benefit of this. If it's all RV pads, the RVs don't actually get assessed for improvement value, it's just land value. So the actual property tax that gets derived from the site wasn't significant, and it wasn't a long-term development in the community. So we've taken that and we've amended it using a lot of those comments and made some changes that we'll highlight here. So there's our new development plan. What we've done is, now that 45th Street is actually constructed with Petrocan, we have the alignment, we can finalize and nail down where 45th Street is. So we removed the commercial out of the northeast corner, moved the fire hall site right to the front. So this would be a gifted fire hall site. Currently the town's paying, leasing the site for the fire hall. So hopefully we'll save some taxpayer dollars there. Also better visibility, better access, and it's right on the corner. The next change was the clubhouse. Previously we had a smaller clubhouse. With conversations with the council, with community, with the planner, talked about the historic need for a kind of a community pool, community center, something that the residents could come to, pay market rate, but use the pool year round, have facilities year round, and it's a better use of space opposed to kind of a seasonal RV use. We can actually fill that now year round. Our current plan shows that if we're going to do it, the current plan is about 170 square meter pool is what we're proposing inside, an outdoor pool, an indoor or an outdoor hot tub, a gym. There'd also be a clubhouse. In recent conversations with the town of Osoyoos, we are definitely open, and it's in our report, that we'd be more than willing, once the development plan, if it gets through the Agricultural Land Commission with their support, when we come in for rezoning an OCP amendment and the development permit, if there is demand by the community to have a kind of a larger scale pool, bigger than that 170 square meters, something like a proper lap pool. So increasing that size, and also if it starts having to, by becoming a community amenity, if there's lifeguarding, if the town of Osoyoos wants to work with Pembroke Developments, we could look at cost sharing or opportunities whereby we can create a larger asset for the community with the town of Osoyoos support, if that's something that's palatable to the town of Osoyoos, and if that need still exists when this development comes through. So by all means, at those times of the rezoning and OCP amendment, when the town of Osoyoos shows us what they want, and once we actually start getting costs, we can work together with something that hopefully and what we believe is the right thing for the citizens to get access to, and something to enhance the Osoyoos, town of Osoyoos. So that's the community center. The other portion along the highway, removed the rest of the commercial, so completely stripped all the commercial. We've added in this area 29 park models. So a park model is a prefabbed, it's more of a house than a mobile home, but something that will come in, it'll be there set up year round. It's actually a permanent structure once it's there. You can rent it out to guests of the RVs, community guests, just campers that don't have their own trailer or RV to come onto the site. That creates accessible value also for improvements. And it also, again, diversifies what the site is opposed to just RVs. Along the south, to buffer with the residential properties, we've identified about 4 acres that could become single-family dwellings, either a bare land strata development or fee simple residential houses. There we have about 28 residential lots. That also kind of, what it'll take is the existing waterfront houses and blend them back into where the RV resort is. This is the contextual development plan on an ortho or an air photograph. You can see that it still has the dedication of the 45th Street. Everything is in compliance with Ministry of Agriculture has an edge to, or guide to edge planning. When you're doing a urban or a development next to the agricultural land reserve, they need to make sure there's a significant buffer, that there's significant berming and trees to ensure that there's no overspray, keep everyone safe, and make sure that the chance of any conflict between urban development and agriculture is down. So shows all that. Benefits to town of Osoyoos. Again, like I mentioned, there's a new fire hall site, so a gift that would be given to the town of Osoyoos to be constructed on whenever they feel fit. There'd be the 20-meter right-of-way for 45th Street, dedicated for the first portion, and then probably a road reserve for the balance. Again, there would be additional residential units on the site, about 28 single-family dwellings and 29 park model units. Tourist capacity, an additional 109 RV spots. And then the clubhouse that would be for the actual development, but also open to the town of Osoyoos for the residents to use. That would be the indoor, outdoor pool, hot tub, kind of the whole meal there. Economic benefits, additional tax revenues from this development. Currently the site has a BC assessment of $238,000, so that's what the site's being paying tax on. It has farm status, farm class. So with this development, based on the plans shown, that would be approximately $21 million in assessed value when it's completed. So about a 20 or 87 times or 87-fold increase to what tax is coming off the site. Tourism, obviously, Holiday Trail Resorts, which is what Pembroke Developments is part of. They have over 6,000 members. So those members now will have this as an additional destination to go to. It's also open to the general public. The RV industry has a typical spending of $125 per unit per night. So based on a typical 60% occupancy of the site, that bring an additional $3.7 million spent in the area. On peak days at 100% capacity, that'd be about $17,000 per day brought into the community from this development. Just to go through the 2 properties, so the Pembroke Exclusion, we're asking to remove 21.84 acres of land. Proposed development of the core is going to be the RV park. There's going to be residential and park models. Again, there's the community clubhouse. There'll be road dedication, and it has a class 2-3 improvement rating. To the town of Osoyoos, there'd be the donation of the fire hall, dedication of the 20 meters for the 45th Street. The clubhouse would be accessible to the public. There'd be increased residential developments, tax revenue, DCCs, residential and park model use, and then also the economic spin-off. The inclusion property, 31.1 or 31 acres added to the ALR. There's also financing to the farmers that are, or the farmers that are farming the property currently. It's class 1-2 lands. It's an increase to gross and net area of agricultural land reserve property. There's substantial financial investment in improving the agriculture. and clearly provides long-term benefits to agriculture. Today we're asking for council support to support the Pembroke property or the Wish property to come out of the ALR, looking at the whole package with the Mariposa property going into the ALR. We believe that there's a net benefit where previous applications did not, so we believe that this is a full or a good application that we can take to the Agricultural Land Commission for their consideration. This isn't bad farmland, it's just really good development land that could be added to the community. And we're offsetting and making sure that we're not doing it as a win-lose, it's a win-win for the ALR and for the community. And should Osoyoos and ALC support this, the next step would be this OCP amendment, the rezoning, following that a development permit. So those would be processes there that we'd have opportunities to have open houses, meet with the community, meet with the neighbors, and refine the development through all those stages. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Jordan. I have a question, and I may have had incorrect information. We did run this by the Committee of the Whole meeting earlier this morning. You talked about memberships and that. I was under the impression you didn't have to be a member to stay there, that people could pull in off the highway or make a reservation 2 days before and be able to use that site and rent a site there. Could you, am I wrong on that?
No,
or?
You're correct. There's Holiday Trails has a membership of over 6,000 members. They have multiple RV resorts that are open to all their members, but this one would be open to the general public, so anyone driving down the highway, anyone who wants to book it online a couple days earlier or months in advance, it will be publicly accessible to everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councilor Ryan.
Yes, thank you. Well, I think you've listened well to the previous public meetings and made some significant improvements, Jordan. I had a couple of questions. The first is, in the middle of the proposed the revised layout for the RVs, there are 4 little squares. I'd like to know what those are. I can't read the size type on my...
So what those are, in addition to just that main clubhouse, there'd be an additional pool, there'd be washroom, there'd be there'd be laundry facilities. So there'd be more benefits down there for the rest of it, so that the 107 RVs don't have to just share that one clubhouse. There'd be additional amenities that could be built once it phases out and scales up.
Okay, good, thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. The other is that there is going to be an infusion of financing into the vineyard, a Mariposa vineyard, and I'm just interested in whether that is going to result in any equity position in the vineyard.
None. This is in exchange for them placing their land into the ALR and their commitment that they take the funds that we compensate them with to use it towards their actual agricultural purposes, but there's no equity stake.
Okay, good. And there is on the picture that you showed us, there were several blocks, but there were 2 blocks with a separation between them. I think you called them a north. I don't know, north and south, was it? And I was curious. I couldn't make out the topography, whether that was unplantable at the moment, or just why that area between the 2 portions that are going to be dedicated isn't planted at the moment.
It's topography. So there's a few valleys. There's also a burial ground on the site that we can't develop out on there. But any of the flat areas, anywhere that's logical to actually have vineyards, that's where we have them.
Good. Thank you.
Any other direct questions from the presentation? We'll have time to further debate the issues in that, but is there direct questions from Mr. Hedinga? Hearing none, thank you very much for your report. We are going to head right into another report. So, Director Cunningham, having had this presentation and the one this morning, I'm just wondering if we could maybe hit the high points or the things that are important in the 4.3 and some of those issues before we bring it up to where we are currently.
Exactly, that's what I had in mind.
Thank
Just
you.
to shorthand the first part of the report.
Thank you.
So on May 20th, Council had considered all the revisions and changes to the application, which were very well covered off by Mr. Hedinga this afternoon. One thing which I do want to focus on was the proposal that the applicants had made for interior outdoor pool, and council focused on that because the proposed size that they had of 170 square meters or so was not considerably more than some of the commercial pools that we already have in the community. So council asked staff to go back and see if we could negotiate an increased benefit with the applicant, and that's exactly what we did, I think, successfully. So if you go to the report, you'll find a further revision with the inclusion of a section 4.3, larger full-service aquatic center, and how it reads is as follows. Pembroke Developments in the town of Osoyoos recognize the additional benefits for both parties of including a significantly larger full-service aquatic center to serve as RV park patrons, other tourists, and the general public. These benefits would include increased revenue-generating streams for Pembroke and an increased community benefit for the town to provide a high level of service for local residents, enhance tourist assets, and attract new residents, including employees of the new South Okanagan Penitentiary and their families. Therefore, contingent on council supporting Pembroke's ALR exclusion application and approval by the Agricultural Land Commission, both parties agree in principle to pursue development of a full-service aquatic center, including consideration of the following matters: size and feature of all center components, respective roles and responsibilities for construction and ongoing maintenance costs, an operations agreement, and potential financial incentives. A suitable business model for constructing and managing the center. Project approvals through OCP and zoning bylaw amendments and development and building permitting, and any other matters considered of mutual importance by both parties. So proceeding from there to the options section in my report, I've identified 3 options for council consideration. Option 1, council recommends to the ALC that the wish property be excluded from the ALR for the urban land uses and facilities shown in Kent McPherson's latest revised application of May 27, 2014, including agreement in principle to pursue development of a large full-service aquatic center for mutual benefit of the applicant and the town. Option 2, council requires further negotiations on increasing community benefits. Or option 3, council recommends to the ALC that all the wish property be retained in the ALR for agricultural use. Staff recommends option 1, together with the following procedural steps for proceeding with the application at this afternoon's regular meeting. Step 1, council rescinds their 2 previous resolutions, i.e. motion 289/13, moved by Councillor McCordiff and seconded by Councillor Ryan, and resolved that council accepts the recommendation contained in option 2 to retain all the wish property in the ALR for agricultural use. Motion 290/13, moved by Councillor Ryan and seconded by Councillor McCordiff, and resolved that the voting results on the wish property ALR exclusion application be forwarded to the ALC. Step number 2, council confirms whether they see any benefit in taking the latest revised application to a second advertised public information meeting, and if so, sets a date which allows for pre-advertising on June 11th. Step 3, depending upon the outcome of Step 2, council resolves either at this afternoon's meeting or immediately after the public information meeting whether to support ALC approval of Pembroke Estates ALR exclusion application for the wish property. Thank you.
Thanks, Director Cunningham. I think I just want to make a statement that the purpose of council at this point is to forward that letter. So the application has come to the town, and they've made a presentation. So the ask is for the town to forward a letter with support in favor of the application, and the options are to send that letter with support, or to send a letter without support against the application, and actually there is a third one that's available to council, we can stay silent on it. And in that case, the application would be forwarded to the Agricultural Land Commission from a neutral position. We are not making the decision now to remove from the Agricultural Land Reserve. That will be done by the Agricultural Land Commission. This is just the local input is part of that decision, and there would be many, many factors that they would be looking at. So we're just looking at the town of Osoyoos and whether we support the right use and whether it's going to be deemed to be beneficial to the town of Osoyoos to remove this. So I just wanted that out there so people can understand the town's role in it before we actually start expressing that role. And I think if we look at the steps as they're lined out, I think if we look at step 1, which was asking for council to rescind the 2 previous resolutions, I think that makes sense because we're not using those resolutions anymore, and that was actually withdrawn by the applicant, by the Pembroke development. They asked for this to be pulled back, so there'd be no use sending that one. So I would ask if there's a motion to rescind. CAO Romanco, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. I've just been informed that the proper procedure would be that the movers and seconders of the motions would be the appropriate people to make those
Okay.
motion and second.
Okay, so then I would ask for Councillor McCordoff as the mover and Councillor Ryan as the seconder to rescind that.
Yes, I'm fine with that.
And I would second the rescinding, yes.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried, which will rescind motion. Was that 289 or do you want them separate? Probably separate.
I think separate would be the best.
Yes, I would think so too, as a motions to rescind. Okay, and so on motion 290-13, this one moved by Councillor Ryan, seconded by McCordoff. Again, we're looking for that resolution to rescind. Councillor Ryan?
Yes, I would move that.
And
I will second it.
Councillor McCordoff. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion is also rescinded. Now we're at step 2, and council may want to have a debate and dialogue in taking the latest revised application to a second advertised public information meeting, and we'd have to set a date for that, or whether council deems that because it was just 6+ months, whether the working off the hearing we had on November the 12th is current enough information. And to that end, they have included in the package all the people that came forward at the public hearing of November the 12th. All that information in the letters have been presented in our package so that council could refresh themselves with the issue. So what are council's wishes on this, please? Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So after a lot of careful thought, I'd like to perhaps put forward a motion right now. I guess that's where we're kind of heading with it, and I'd like to start that way based on some wording that we could develop to not have a public hearing, or a public meeting, I'm sorry.
Okay. So that would be no public hearing.
Yes.
Okay, and a seconder on that? Councillor Plant, please.
Not hearing, meeting,
That's right.
public meeting.
Yeah.
Public meeting, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Could I add some wording to that, council determines not to exercise its discretion in holding another public information meeting? It's important to note that this is not a requirement. It's at council's discretion.
Okay, okay. So this was at council's discretion, and how did we have that wording? I just have to get.
I'm still working on it.
Okay.
Okay, no, I just,
I'll give a shot at this. Moved by Councillor Rhodes and seconded by Councillor Plant to resolve that council exercise its discretion to not hold a public meeting with regard to the removal of the wished property lands from the ALR.
Okay, I think that's what was said. That works for me. Councillor McCordock, please.
Yes, I just had a question. Before we vote on this, I was wondering if the letters that we had received at the public meeting, would they be forwarded to the Agricultural Land Commission, or does the motion go without any documentation?
There's no requirement under Section 27 of the Agricultural Land Commission Act with respect to council's discretion to hold such a meeting that they need to pass on those documentation. I think the intent is that it's information only for council's decision making, not for the commission.
Okay.
And I guess when you look at whether we should be going to another hearing, that one was on November the 12th, and it's really just 6 plus months old. I don't think that there'd be a lot of change on that in that period of time, and if we didn't have a time frame of, I don't think they're written in cast in stone how long that information's good for, but it should be good, you'd think, for a year or something, or we'd be having public hearings and checking our resolutions all the time. So I think that's on the right track, but we certainly will have the dialogue. Councillor Ryan Plant, please.
Good, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, we're talking about a discretionary meeting. One of my core values is good communication and transparent sort of discussion. And I think that, as I said earlier to Mr. Henninga, I think that they have listened well to that group. But I think this is, in some ways, a good news change. And I think that it could be very advantageous to bring it forward for an information meeting and let the public hear what is there and comment on it. Mm-hmm. While it was, within a 12-month period, we're always very sensitive to the fact that come October we lose a lot of our citizens, our residents, and so on. And so for that reason too, while there were a number of people there and some people weren't present but put in informed comments, I personally, I would like to see us move quickly to have another public meeting, explain this, and then I'm quite prepared at that time, immediately following that meeting, to make a decision.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Pond.
And I would also say that we've had tons of discussion about this. This isn't even from the last year. We're talking over 10 years about this discussion and understanding what the community has to say. And I respect everything that has been said, but in that, just like you had said, we see this group actually listening to our people who are coming in and making these comments and concerns. I hear them listening, and they're putting everything in front of us that is answering the questions from the last public. And so I feel like we've come to the road where we've heard all the discussion. We could certainly, at least at this point, give that decision on whether or not we want to exclude it from the ALC. And then if that comes to the road where it has been, then we could come to the discussion with the public on the actual overall agreement of what is going to be there. So I think, yes, I believe that the public should know that we've decided to take it out for these reasons. I think there will have to be a public involvement when we get to the second stage, which is, again, finalizing the development of it. And I think, again, they've showed that they're listening to what our concerns are as a town. And that's my...
Councillor Rhodes, McCordock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I have a very simple reason. I feel very, very comfortable with the information that we received at the last public information meeting. I really, really like public information meetings. I totally support them. In this particular case, I think that there's not much value in having another one, because I don't see anybody really coming forward with any new ideas and opinions towards it right now. And, you know, all of those wonderful comments that we received before, I think would remain the same. I have respect for absolutely every one of them, and I feel very comfortable about moving forward with this project without having another meeting because of that.
Thank you. Councilor Cordoff.
Thank you. I'm kind of torn on this one because I do think you probably would get many of the same people coming to a public meeting, and my assumption is that, and we can't really assume anything, but my assumption is that they would probably vote the same way. The only thing that I think needs addressing is that this is a different plan, and it does have some different options in it, and I think that it would be worthy of us to, appropriate for us to hold a public meeting and tell them, tell the people that are landowners around and people in town who might be having some concerns about this, that there have been significant changes made, and perhaps they would feel differently about it. But I think we owe it to them to show them the new plan and exactly the way Mr. Heading has explained it. So I think I would vote in favor of a public meeting.
Okay. Councillor Plant?
To that again, I don't disagree that we should have a public. I just don't know if it's at this step. We haven't got it excluded. ALR will make that decision, and after that, we could then have a public meeting that involves the development part of it. And that's where I think the difference is. Because again, we could actually do a public meeting and ALR declines the exclusion, and then we've done a public meeting for no reason. And that's the difference. I see us doing a public, but at the time when ALR has decided that this would be happening, that we can pull it out.
And thanks for bringing that forward, because it's so easy when you have a major application like this. It's so easy to jump it forward. And I just want to go back to how we opened this discussion, was that this was a letter of support, is all this was. The nuts and bolts and the OCP and the development permit, that'll tie up our planning department staff for months on what that's going to look like, and it will be open and there will be a lot of discussion. But it comes back to in my mind, it comes back to what were the benefits for the town. And the first time around, I didn't see enough benefits for the town. And this time around, I see that there's some amenities. I particularly like the tax assessment angle. There's a lot of things out there that, as mayor, I see are attractive. And when I think if Osoyoos needs a shot in the arm economically and to get things kicked off, this is certainly the time to see a bit of an incentive going forward. So I'm satisfied with the information out there for the letter of support. As far as all the other, we'll get to that. So I'm ready to call the vote on that issue. Is there anything further? May we have it read, because I had a tendency that it was a negative worded motion.
Moved by Councillor Rhodes and seconded by Councillor Plant, and resolved that Council exercise its discretion to not hold a public meeting in regard to the removal of the Wish property lands from the ALR. To not hold.
To not.
To not hold.
Okay. Everyone's comfortable with that language? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Councillor Ryan, would you have a secondary motion on?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. I think. Well, we just really decided to not have a meeting.
Not have the meeting.
I think maybe it's premature to
wait till the next one.
Yeah, I think it would be after the next one.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
Thank you.
Okay, then if we look at the recommendation of step 3, council resolves either at this meeting or immediately after whether to support the ALC approval of Pembroke Estates ALR application for the Wish property. A letter of approval, whether to support the approval of, okay, I don't know if the ALC should be in there, but whether to support
Exclusion?
the approval of the ALR exclusion, okay?
Approve a letter of support.
Letter of support, okay? Okay. Councillor Plant.
Thank you. Yeah, just as you said there, I will put that into motion.
Okay.
So I will.
And Councillor Rhodes on seconding. Speaking to that, please. Seconder, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I will continue to support sending this letter of support for this application for basically the same reasons that I did last time. And I don't think I'll go through and repeat them. But, you know, I totally respect, you know, the commission. I respect their principles. I like what they've done in this province. The wonderful things that they've done to protect property are admired by many, many people all across Canada. But I do have a problem with their control over ALR property within municipalities that are struggling with lack of growth areas. And this particular application helps me get through that an awful lot. In addition to that, you know, I struggle with our vacancies on Main Street, and I know Mayor Wells talked about this a little bit. I really struggle with that, and when I see things like that, I always try to look for solutions to it. You know, how can we make that better? How can we give our economy a boost? And bearing in mind that tourism is one of our major industries, certainly in our town, in our area, it certainly rivals farming. You know, it's just such a huge component. And I like to, you know, and I'm very happy about that. I like tourism. It's something that's drawn me to this community for a long time. And I see this proposal as being a very, very important part of not solving our economic difficulties that we're having on Main Street and all that other kind of thing, but certainly being a big boost to our economy. And it's not only through the build-out process, it's also through the sustainability component of it as well. Those people that come and stay in there, and I know there's distractors everywhere that don't believe it, you know, they do eat in our restaurants. They share in our community at our grocery stores and all of our other businesses, and you know, I know it's always up for argument that they bring everything from the coast. I mean, we've all heard all this stuff before. I really, in all honesty, don't believe that when a guy is sitting in one of these places and they need a loaf of bread, they don't go to their cupboard because they brought it from Surrey. I just, you know, I don't buy that kind of stuff. They shop, you know, in our stores, and they're a very, very vibrant and active part of our community. The third thing is about it is that it's going to give us a longer season because there's going to be a permanence in this development with some of the changes that are being proposed yet again. And I'm just, you know, I'm really in favor of it. I have a hard time finding, you know, the fault in this. And I know, and I hate to take words out of people's mouths, but I know Councillor Plant's going to comment on this. What is that property going to look like in 25 years from now? If we don't get on board and move this forward, it's going to look exactly the same as it is right now, probably a non-productive orchard. And that's, you know, I know I started off not saying, you know, committing to not saying much, so I apologize. But, you know, it's a big thing for me, and I just will continue to support this, and it's just getting better every time we hear about it.
Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Plant, did you want to add on that?
Oh, I think Councillor Rhodes did a great job explaining that. That's my point exactly, and I think they support each other. So I know there's ALR, we're talking in a regional district, tourism in town. Those can support, as they grow, they support each other. So we have people that are going to come here and stay in these facilities, but also eat our local product and shop at our, whether the wineries are agricultural, farming, flea markets to, you know, our fruit stands and vegetable stands. So they actually will work hand in hand. And I think the biggest thing that I really enjoyed is that, again, they're listening to what our community needs as far as supporting that growth in our tourism and allowing people to stay here. And I just, again, I don't see where, and it's that exchange of land too, I think that I really has always been something that I'm excited about too, that we haven't just said, well, we're going to pull out this land and there's not going to be that exchange. Well, that they are providing that exchange, and I think that's something that we can't forget as well. So yeah, it looks good to me. I think Jordan and Kent McPherson have done a great job up to this point.
Thanks for those comments. Councillor Ryan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. When we look at this decision before us, it's basically, do we support it or do we not support it for agricultural or other uses? And I've been following this, I guess, for about 12 years since I first heard about it, and it hasn't been actively farmed in that period. I think that this current proposal certainly addresses any non-agricultural use and concerns that were expressed in the previous public meeting, and I think it does represent a viable development. It represents something that would be of benefit to our community. We have to also look that if it's not going to be farmed, who's going to own it and what are they going to use it for? And you know, there are a number of possibilities, but I'm prepared to forward it on to with a positive spin to the Agricultural Land Commission, and I think the big change here has been that inclusion of extra land. Not that it's in our community, but still it is provincial wide. It's an addition to a slight addition to this amount that we are proposing to take out. So I would vote in favor of this, and I would prefer to see it used agriculturally, to be perfectly honest. And as Mr. Henning has said himself, you know, and it's true if you read the reports that it's slightly not as good as the Mariposa, but in both cases you put water and fertilizer on it and it'll grow anything. So my preference would be that it be agricultural, but for 12 years I've been waiting to see it used intensively, and it hasn't happened, and I don't know whether it will in the future. So I think this is the best I've seen in that period of time, and I'm prepared to put it forward for the Commission's consideration.
Thanks. Okay, Councillor Ryan. Gee, I thought I was going to get my closing remarks turn.
No, hang on.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to vote the other way, and I think that absolutely it has not been used well over the last many years. I think that is nobody's fault other than the owner has not done anything with it. There have been some trees on it, and that has been farmed. But if somebody else had owned it, it could be in full production. I mean, I don't say it could be; it might be in full production. So I don't think that I'm willing to see good agricultural land, and this is good land, and it has been in good production before I've seen it. I'm not keen on seeing it covered with concrete. That's partly it. I know that we need areas of further development in the town, but we have just identified the Richter property, which presumably will be taken out of the ALR when some of the housing goes in there and when there's low-cost housing added to that. So we do have places where we're going to get some added revenue. I think, to me, the fact that Mariposa is going to be put in to the agricultural land, or the possibility of that going in and the Wish property taken out. To me, the Mariposa property is good for growing grapes, and that's it. I don't think that it would be good for other things, partly because of getting the water up there, and partly because of the slope and the rocks. And I think it probably is quite good for grapes. I think the Wish property, if it was used properly as an agricultural land, could produce market gardens in the wetter areas, ground crop, trees, and everything. So while I absolutely see the benefits to having it in and not having it in, I think there are enough people in the town who would prefer to see it kept in the agricultural land reserve, and I do as well. So I vote no on this, for myself and for the citizens that I represent in the town who feel the same way.
Thank you, Councilor McCordoff. I really like the way we do this. I really do, where councilors get to present their rationale for their position, because a lot of times it's just hands going up and hands going down. But on our important issues, and I deem this to be an important issue, it's really great that councillors get to present their rationale to the public. So, closing remarks. So the first time around, I wasn't in favor of this. And the reason was that there wasn't enough assets, and there wasn't enough amenities, and there wasn't enough taxation base to attract my vote. And I know in a casual offhand discussion with the developer, one of his team, I'm saying, well, you know, if we don't get that assessment base, who's going to pay for the Sonora Center? All those people are going to use those services and the parks, and they want to walk. They want to walk on Gyro Beach, and they want to play the racquetball game up at the Sonora Center, and they want to use all our facilities. But there was no tax base. And when this one came back, and it had the park models that were going to be accessible because they're going to be mounted properly, the subdivision component, which was probably going to move some kerfuffle down by the people on Lakeshore Drive, and again bring in fixed housing, and it was going to be accessible by the BC Assessment Authority, and the possibility of attracting this 109 people into the RV sites. And I know I've mentioned it before, but the golf course comes into play here. And golf courses these days I'll use the word, they struggle a bit. They're not the great financial empires that they thought they were when they put them in 20 years ago. And when you look at our golf course here, our 2 18 holes, championship golf courses, and they happen to be one of the biggest employers in this town. And if we can generate another $100,000 onto their bottom line, and help support that golf course, those golf courses, and the employees that work there, that's really big at this point in time. We do have the correction center coming. There are some things on the horizon. There's some federal government employees that are going to be increasing their scope in the town of Osoyoos. So there is a bit of buzz here, but boy, you certainly have to pay attention to closed storefronts and main streets and things like that as we're going into it. And again, I look at this as an economic driver, an uplift, a bit of a catalyst to get things happening. So I'm quite happy to send the letter of support. The Agricultural Land Commission, and they're the professionals, they're going to make the decision. All we're doing is whether this is a worthwhile endeavor to the town of Osoyoos, and I think it is. So do we need the resolution read again, please?
Moved by Councillor Plant and seconded by Councillor Rhodes, and resolved that Council send a letter of support to the ALC for the Wish property to be excluded from the ALR for the urban land uses and facilities shown in the Kent McPherson latest revised application of May 27, 2014.
Thank you. Did I? Do we need a second part of that?
My question would be, do we need the actual second part of that to, or can it stop after, after exclusion from the ALR? Because again, the urban, or the use that they've given us we'll go to public and we'll work on that part of it. So I'm just wondering about the second part of that motion. Does that make sense?
Okay.
You mean including agreement in principle to pursue development of a larger full-service
Yeah.
aquatic center? Yes. That was staff's original recommendation as being option 1, so that should be included in the statement, I would argue. 'Cause
Okay.
it's borne a very important part in your decision making.
This would be the link
Yes.
for councils down the road. This would be the link within the resolution that we have had dialogue and agreements in principle with the pool premise and some of the other.
Yeah, and it makes it very clear to the Agricultural Land Commission that this was a very important issue in terms of you making your decision, and it also makes it very clear, if I may add, to Pembroke Estates as well.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to ask for that to be read one more time, Ms. Van Vienna, please. Oh, are we getting it up there?
No, I'm just finishing
Okay.
off the last part. Moved by Councillor Plant and seconded by Councillor Rhodes, and resolved that Council send a letter of support to the ALC for the Wish property to be excluded from the ALR for the urban land uses and facilities shown in Kent McPherson's latest revised application of May 27, 2014, including agreement in principle to pursue development of a larger full-service aquatic center for mutual benefit of the applicant and the town.
Thank you. With support for exclusion, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so I would like to move a motion, and it would be almost word for word with motion 29013 that we rescinded earlier. I would like to move that the voting results on the Wish property of this date regarding ALR exclusion application be forwarded to the ALC.
Thank you. And that seconder, Councillor McCordoff. I fully support that. I think that's a great idea to send voting results down anytime there's a split decision. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. That is done. Thank you. Business 2. Bylaw Enforcement Officer Appointment, Director of Corporate Services, Ms. Van Vienna, please.
Thank you. In order for bylaw enforcement officers to have the authority to act as bylaw enforcement officers and write tickets under the Municipal Ticketing Information Bylaw, Council must pass a resolution to appoint the bylaw enforcement officers for the town for the purposes of enforcing the bylaws. Council has previously appointed Steve Marshall, Steve Daniels, Patricia Marshall, Gabriel Campbell, Richard Moninger, Shiloh Leiber, and Dan Leiber as bylaw enforcement officers. Richard Moninger and Gabriel Campbell are no longer active as bylaw officers for the town of Osoyoos, and the current contractor has hired additional workers. They've hired Katie Church, Miranda Isnerdy, and Brody Turnbull to these new officers need to be officially appointed by council resolution. For implications under community, additional bylaw officer resources, there are no organizational implications or budget implications. And the options are that Katie Sarah Church, Miranda Jackie Lynn Isnerdy, and Brody Daniel Turnbull be appointed bylaw enforcement officers under Section 36 of the Police Act under the statutes Chapter 367 for the purposes of enforcement of municipal bylaws for the town of Osoyoos, or that no changes be made to the bylaw enforcement appointments, and staff recommend option 1.
Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, I'd like to ask a question, if I may, first, Mr. Mayor, and that is, I hope this is appropriate, but I wondered if Ms. Van Vienna could give us some general, not specific, but some general ideas about the background and training and experience and so on of the individuals that we're appointing.
As this is a contract with a contractor, it's they're responsible to make sure that they're properly trained and send them for the proper training. They are trained by the bylaw officer for writing the tickets and any other training like dispute resolution or anything like that, they have to provide that training to their people. Depending on what circumstances they're going to be put in, is what training they will provide to them.
Looking for that resolution. Councillor Plante?
I would agree to that, yeah, that we, option 1, and I look forward to meeting them.
Okay. And seconded by Councillor Rhodes. Any further discussion? Councillor McCordock.
Thank you. May I ask a question? Last year, we had a very good bylaw officer by the name of Emerald Lutz. Is she not included in this list?
I'm going to have to check with the contractor to see if she is still going to come back this year. I don't have that information,
Okay.
but I may have missed her off of the list. That doesn't mean that she isn't, but I'll check with her for you.
She was very good last year. She was firm but fair and took her job seriously. So I would certainly support having her back if she would like to be back.
You want my vote?
Sure.
Her appointment from last year would still stand because we haven't revoked that appointment. So if
So she.
if she is, then she would still be appointed.
Thank you.
Councillor Plante?
Yes, further to that, I just want to say that congratulations to them, and we understand that being a bylaw officer, especially during the summer months, can be very challenging, and so I just want to say from myself that I appreciate them taking on this job and being part of our community and providing some safe guard for our tourists as they come in here, especially in our summer months. So congratulations to them, and like I say, look forward to meeting them, and welcome.
Great, thank you. And so back to the appointment of Church, Isnerdy, and Turnbull. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. I have a question. The ones that didn't return, do we have to take them off a list? Is there actually a list, or is it, there's a couple names there that aren't active anymore. Do we do that as a matter of housekeeping automatically, or?
We have taken some of them off and put some on, but I haven't been given anything formal from the contractor that these people will not be returning at some point. If they do have to call them in, they're still appointed. Some of them actually, this bylaw officer also is the contractor for Oliver, so some of their officers are actually working in Oliver.
Okay.
But if they pull them into Osoyoos, they're still appointed.
Okay, that's probably wise. Looking at summertime and short notice. Help! Thank you very much. Next item up, under Business 3, the Sewer Capacity Study. CAO Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. The 2013 business and capital plans included a third-party capacity assessment of the town's sewer system. A request for proposals was developed by True Consulting in consultation with the Director of Public Works and the CAO. 3 companies responded to the request for proposal, and Council awarded the contract to Kerwood Lytle Associates Limited in August of 2013. Kerwood Lytle, I'll just use KWL, was retained to perform a comprehensive capacity assessment analysis to the town of Osoyoos' sanitary sewer system. Some of the important questions regarding the current and future elements of the system have been brought forward from residents, council, and staff that are to be answered in this assessment. These questions include: can the existing transmission and treatment system handle the current seasonal loads as well as take on the development currently being constructed? What is the capacity of the system to service future growth of the town? What is the anticipated growth of Osoyoos as well as the surrounding area within the Osoyoos service area? What improvements in the future are triggered by new developments and growth inside and outside the town boundary to connect to the sanitary sewer system? What are the costs of these necessary improvements to the system, and how does Osoyoos recover these costs from the developers? What is the appropriate per equivalent dwelling unit charge for the service to lands outside the municipal boundary? A summary of the KWL report is as follows, with the preliminary assessments of the recommendation and observations by the administration. And just for a visual impact, this is the report. It's got a lot of lot of drawings in it and a lot of graphs and that can be reviewed. So given the first question, can the existing transmission and treatment system handle the current seasonal loads as well as take on development currently being constructed? KWL found that the existing transmission system does have deficiencies. These were found to be in one sewer main in the industrial park / airport trunk sewer and in the main lift station. The future also includes an upgrade to the 250 mm diameter sewer along Cottonwood Drive. KWL understands that the existing effluent disposal system needs an expansion to be reclaimed water system and in the future. Since demands fluctuate from year to year, consideration for another means such as disposal to ground to relieve excessive reclaimed water can help buffer fluctuations with respect to winter effluent storage. Further investigations should be completed to assess the biological treatment capacity of the system to determine if additional related improvements are required. So these were some of the recommendations that KWL made. So what we did is, as the administration, we're providing council with and the public with a very quick assessment of the recommendation and what we are doing now relative to the recommendation. The shortcomings identified are directly related to additional development and not current capacity. The industrial park airport sewer trunk is 62-meter section that can be placed on observation by Public Works. A Highway 3 repaving may be the catalyst for the redevelopment. This is a relatively inexpensive fix if needed. So that's the first issue that was identified. The main lift replacement. This project is currently under consideration by Public Works through upgrading of the current main lift wet well and a major mid-lift station or consolidation of the project into a new main lift station. Funding has been allocated in a 5-year capital plan totaling $1.78 million. Next item was future need to upgrade the 250 mm diameter sewer along Cottonwood Drive. This improvement is directly related to the future increase in flows caused by the development on OIB lands. The OIB will have to be responsible for funding this improvement. The town has completed upgrades servicing on Cottonwood Beach that would link to this service. Current flows from the OIB are at a rate approved by the town, and the consultants for the OIB have been informed that no capacity upgrading of the OIB connection can occur without an upgrade to the 250 mm main on Cottonwood. The next item highlighted was the options for ground dispersal in winter. This recommendation is provided as an emergency relief option. Increased use of the newly constructed infiltration bed at Desert Park is a response to this recommendation. The next is the assessment of the bio-treatment system. No problems have occurred with our current system. However, this recommendation can be followed up to determine if pinch points will occur at certain levels of development. The second question that the study addressed is what is the capacity of the system to service future growth in the town? A summary of KWL's comments are that the system does have capacity to accommodate anticipated future growth over the next 20 years. There are current upgrades necessary as well as ones that will be triggered in the future depending on the rate of future growth. In terms of our assessment, it would appear that our current system and the planned improvements have positioned this community for future growth both inside and outside the town boundaries. The additional changes needed will be influenced by the rate of growth and the sectors of the community that grow. The third question is what is the anticipated growth for Osoyoos as well as the surrounding areas within the Osoyoos, OIB, and Regional District? The KWL's response was the anticipated growth for Osoyoos, OIB, and RDOS are included in this report. The population projection section addresses this. Correspondence with the OIB and RDOS could only yield short-term growth projections. In terms of the population forecast, as we describe it as not being rocket science, therefore one has to consider that the consultants completed a very difficult task with the information provided. The growth forecast is also made more difficult given the resort nature of our area and the potential economic peaks and valleys in the amounts of development. The population growth projections will assist with system planning and updates to the official community plan. The next question addressed is what improvements in the future are triggered by new development and growth inside and outside the town boundary to connect to the sanitary sewer system. KWL says that, as detailed in the following report, improvements to the 250 mm diameter Cottonwood Drive sewers and the chlorine contact chamber will be necessary in the future due to growth inside and outside the town of Osoyoos. Upgrades may also be required to the treatment plant depending on the biological treatment capacity of the system. KWL suggests that the reclaimed water discharge system be expanded to prevent surplus storage and an appropriate alternative discharge to handle /buffer seasonal flows be established. In order to expand the reclaimed water discharge system and or the lagoon system, KWL suggests additional land be acquisition by the town be completed as necessary. In terms of the administrative review, previous comments in number 1 addressed the enlargement of the Cottonwood Drive line and the upgrading of the wastewater treatment system. As noted in the response, the 5-year sewer capital plan has identified the treatment facility upgrades, and a development policy addresses that the sewer line upgrades as a developer-related expense. The expansion of the reclaimed water system is addressed in the 5-year capital plan, with funds identified for additional reclaimed water distribution sites at the airport and Desert Park. The lands to the south of the school have also been identified as a reclaimed water distribution site. The Osoyoos Secondary School will become a distribution site in 2014. The infiltration field developed in 2013 will also function as an emergency relief system. Additional work is now underway to formally secure lands by the landfill in order to provide additional reclaimed water distribution area or can function as an additional lagoon site. Other new lagoon sites have also been identified if need arises. The report also identifies that the option of effluent disposal into Osoyoos Lake. There has been no discussion or costing related to this option. Given the economic and social impact of Osoyoos Lake identified in the Community Sustainability Plan, administration would assume that this option may be the last option to be considered by a future council. Question 5, what are the costs of these necessary improvements to the system, and how does Osoyoos recover these costs from the developers? The estimates of probable costs are detailed in tables 3.4 and 4.6 in the report. The total amount for all improvements between now and the next 20 years is estimated at $11.613 million. Note this estimate does not include expansion to the reclaimed water system, which also needs to be completed. These costs are too variable to estimate at this stage. KWL notes that a minimum of 15 hectares will be required over the next 10 years. Therefore, these costs cannot be included in the report. In terms of administrative recommendation, a major portion of the identified future costs relate to the development of a new lagoon. That was $8.6 million, and based on the community's inability to secure sufficient lands to spray reclaimed water or self-manage our distribution to maintain sufficient winter storage capacity. This would appear to be a distant future problem, 20 years, because land and funding have been identified to add more lands and infrastructure to the spray system. Developing more spray distribution sites will enable the town to manage its distribution and manage a working relationship with the Osoyoos Golf Club's needs for reclaimed water. The spray distribution system and storage capacity is closely monitored, and additional development will be assigned a capacity figure that must fit into our current winter lagoon storage capacity and our ability to self-manage timely reclaimed water distribution. Other recommended capital projects included a new pump station and new gravity lines. The recommended lines will be reviewed and upgraded either through developers paying for the needed upgrades at the time of development, or generally communal lands being upgraded through operational funding. The study didn't outline our proposed projects that will be implemented into the immediate future, and I'll just run over some of these quickly. I'll leave the numbers out and give a total at the end. Currently being contemplated is effluent screening, a Phase 1 reclaimed water supply main, a Phase 2 reclaimed water supply main, booster station, airport area supply main, airport irrigation, desert park irrigation, cell 3 aeration system, and so our proposed projects right now come to $2.955 million. Question 6, what is the appropriate per equivalent dwelling unit charge for service to lands outside the municipal boundary? KWSL says, based on assumption made in Table 5.1, a cost-sharing rate of $17,000 per equivalent dwelling unit can be applied to all new development connecting to the town's sanitary sewer system in the next 20 years. This rate does not include a contribution investment from the residents for those assets, and should therefore not be used directly as a sewer DCC rate. The administration responds by saying that consultants have taken a linear approach by taking the value of potentially needed improvements and dividing by that cost of the projected number of development units. They also recommend an additional fee for the Osoyoos Indian Band and similar costing for development inside and outside the town boundaries. The administration will have to review this recommendation in view of the town's existing policies and approaches used to cost services to the OIB. Administration is in the process of developing a new development cost charges bylaw, and this recommendation will be reviewed in that process with a view to intra-boundary servicing policy development for council to consider. So in terms of the implications of the report, the community benefits from a third-party assessment of its sewer capacity system. The report can be used by community members to assess the municipality's actions to ensure the integrity of the sewer service capital infrastructure. Organizationally, a third-party assessment provides the organization with an evaluation of its responses to immediate sewer service development and its ability to position for projected growth and sustainability. Budget was expended in the 2013 funding. Significant dates. This study is being made public today for council's consideration, and the sustainability will assist council in decision making to ensure Osoyoos Lake and community sustainability. So a couple options are being presented to council at this particular point in time. The first one is to send the report back for additional information and changes. The second is to pass a resolution to accept the report as information to be used in a 5-year capital plan and business planning process. In terms of a recommendation, the administration recommends option number 2. This report is a very positive assessment of the administration, True Consulting, and council working together to ensure appropriately planned sewer services that positions the community to supply current needs and future growth. The report provides no surprises and illustrates that 1. The need for main lift station improvements has been identified and financially addressed in the 5-year capital plan. 2. The need for additional reclaimed spray lands and infrastructure has been identified, and work is currently underway to additional facilities within the next 5-year capital plan. 3. The infiltration bed at Desert Park is noted as an important facility to deal with emergency reclaimed water winter storage issues. 4. Work is being done to address major concern, which is winter storage of reclaimed water. Security of additional lands is being sought through working with the provincial government. Additional sites are being implemented, and the town is moving to a more self-managed control of their reclaimed water distribution. 5. Recent improvements to our sewer system through investment with the Northwest Sewer Funds positions the community to handle our growth and additional services beyond our boundaries. Lost count now. 6. Additional improvements to the sewer system are included in the 5-year capital plan with assigned funding. 7, current work on a new DCC bylaw will address the future funding of needed facilities and addresses who pays. And 8, an identified minor shortcoming in one of our mains can be easily addressed if needed at the time of additional development. So this is being as presented as an assessment of the KWL sewer capacity report.
Thank you, CAO Romanko. Yeah, it's very comprehensive report. I think it's a great tool. I particularly liked it highlighting our weaknesses, the possible areas where we could end up in a bit of trouble with high loads and summertime issues and that. I think it's important to know where they are, and you know, we can start addressing them. I know that there is some funding out there. We do have some reserves, I think, Director Zackel, and we can start looking at it, and we're building out new DCC charges and things like that. So we are moving forward. I think it's important to note that basically since the report was done, where does the school irrigation come into this? Because it really wasn't a part of this report, to my knowledge.
The school irrigation will probably come on stream once the school year is finished this year. We're just in the process of putting power to the pump station. Okay. They just they're just completing the connections between the pump station and the school system. And we should be starting, like I say, once the school year is done. We could probably start earlier, but we thought best to just wait and get all the little bugs out of the system. And once that's going, that'll see 40,000 cubic meters of irrigation and drinking water saved.
Okay, and that equivalent is. Do you remember what was was that 40?
I think it was 180 households or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to spring that on you, but there was a ratio there that you could match it to, and that was quite significant, and probably one of the first school districts to go to spray effluent. And there was a lot of background work done there with health and some of the federal agencies. We are moving towards the airport. We are moving towards the landfill, so that would be the direction that we are looking at, future for the community. I know there's people out there that may want to go, okay, but you did your capacity report, you've got 238 houses more and that's it. And it just really doesn't work that way. It doesn't come down to that science of an exact number of houses and you go over. It's more of a choreography and I'd hate to use the word ballet when we're talking about effluent, but it seems that's how it happens. You know, you have peaks and valleys. And sorry, Councilor McCordock. but it is that, you know, we had some capacity issues here, but we've already been looking after them through that dry well process at Desert Park, the school capacity. Those are all positive, and we are moving towards the airport. So if anybody wants that report, that's a public document. That would be downloadable, I'm sure. The report will be on our website. There'll be a copy available at the front, or a copy or two available at the front desk for people to read if they wish to sit down and read it. If they wish to purchase a copy, it'll be $35. Okay, thank you. And just looking at the direction this is going in with council, I'm just wondering, I'm looking at the recommendations, and I don't have any trouble with them whatsoever, and the bullet points are really good. I'm just wondering if we would sit back and wait for some public input into this before we send it away, or is that a possibility? Where, let me just get to the recommendation here, where to pass a resolution to accept the report as information to be used in the 5-year capital and business planning process. I think that's wonderful. But would we wait to hear back from the public? I know there's been some members of the public that have been looking forward to this report, and it's just a public document now, and we're already sort of saying, well, we like it and we've done it, rather than maybe open that up a bit. Could you help me with that?
Well, again, if you feel that, if council feels that based on public review of the report, that you may want to send it back to the consultant for additional information and changes, that certainly is an option that's available to council. We don't have any problem with that.
And I'm not even I'm not suggesting that. I'm just wondering if we want to put that into the mix as we go to the decision process, and it's open to council for input. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I could kind of support that. I know that when we first received that document, I really struggled with it. It was a lot of statistics, and had to read it over many times and ask a lot of questions to get a good, thorough understanding. I'm not really convinced that I'm totally there. I get the essence of it, and the bullet points are all good, and I understand most of that. But we do have some members in our community that are pretty good at ciphering out maybe things that we missed or that kind of thing, and it would be kind of nice to provide that opportunity for them to have input into it, and before we lock it away, and so I could kind of support that theory. I think we would have to change the wording on the resolution a little bit, or maybe not even have a resolution on it just yet.
Well, I guess at this point in time, it would just be a matter of not having a resolution, other than maybe a time frame. Sure. That this document be put forth for public comment until such and such a date, and then once that date has passed, then we'll bring it back, and we would like to take a look at having a formal council resolution relative to accepting it as information that we would use in our business planning processes.
I think that, and maybe a month. I mean, people want to look at it and come get a hold or make comment, give them a month, and then we could make that resolution. Okay. Councilor McCordell.
Yes, thank you. I agree with that. I would have been happy to support the resolution for option 2, but I do understand that there are some people that in town that may like to have a look at it first, and hopefully they will be as happy with it as certainly as I am. I just think the administration and True and council have really worked very hard to get this to where it is today, and I think it's a good document. This part of it is more easily understandable, and I think the first meeting in July might be a good time to bring it back and make a resolution. Would that work?
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
Sure.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Any other comment? So we could, Councilor Ryan?
Well, I was going to say, do you want a resolution to that effect then? That
probably. That would. Then we have something here that.
Yeah, and I would be happy to second it. If
absolutely, I will make a resolution that we put this out to the public and for their input, and on the July 7th, 8th. Is it? Yes, the next council meeting in July. It's not the first, so and that we bring it back for a resolution.
Well, I don't know that would give us enough time to. I think we wanted to give. There's some comment about wanting to give the public a month. Mm-hmm. And then we could bring it back on the. That's
5 weeks till that one. Is that enough?
Okay. I need time to develop the report. Right. If there is a need to develop a report, and if we give them till, I just prefer
the middle of July.
To bring it. If we give them till July 7th to respond, and that would give me until the 21st to bring back a report.
Okay.
Sure.
Because we may have to take a look at some of their suggestions.
Yeah. I mean, there was quite a few people, as I recall, that were concerned about this and
interested.
And they might be looking for sitting on their patio reading material and they could just sit there and go through the hundreds of pages.
So I would make that, add that to my motion, that it be until the 7th, that the public responds, and then a report developed for the 21st.
Okay, perfect. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks. Under Business 4, March income statements, Town of Osoyoos and Sun Bowl Arena. Director of Finance, Mr. Zackel, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. So good news to start off our first 3 months of operations. We're already projecting a couple of minor surpluses. So in our general fund, we've got a projected surplus of $20,000. Right now, we're looking at our taxes, real property levy. That's projected to be on budget. Billing of the property taxes was scheduled for May. It's actually, they were just mailed out last week and the taxes are coming in. Taxes collected for other governments. Likewise, this is projected to be on budget, and likewise, the billing for the taxes is scheduled for this month. Taxes collected from utilities, projected to be on budget, billing scheduled for April and May. Cemetery operations, this is projected to be on budget. Licenses, permits, and rentals, projected to be on budget. Revenues are flowing in fairly nice. Under solid waste management, our landfill tipping fees, which were $55,063.47, are up by $6,778.22. So that's higher than 2013 at this time. Septage fees as well were $11,821.50, and they're $604.75 higher than 2013 at this time. Garbage and recycling collection, this will also be billed out in with the property taxes in May, and all these accounts are actually projected to be on budget this year. Another good news story, development and building services. Building permit fees are $12,450. That's as of the end of March. That's $7,195 higher than 2013 at this time. So definitely positive, moving in the right direction, and we're projecting development building services revenues to be on budget for this year. Return on investments, we're budgeting, there's a surplus at this time of $11,732.64, and this is where we've got our projected surplus right now of 20 grand. Donations, projected to be on budget. We've recovered a couple nice donations from our business communities that were contributed to the splash park. So that was a nice, I think Tim Hortons was one of them. Bank of Montreal was the other one that was a large donation. Land and equipment sales. Planning on selling some used equipment that were no longer being utilized, and this will happen in the fall, and it's projected to be on budget. Community services facility revenue. Revenues are up by $3,849.59 from 2013 at this time. So this is also projected to be on budget. Community services program revenue. Revenues are down by $2,397.75 from 2013 at this time, but it's also projected to be on budget. Most of the revenues will start flowing in over the summer months. Unconditional transfers from government, projected to be on budget. Conditional transfers from government is projected to be on budget. Borrowing and transfers from own funds, this is projected to be on budget, but this is also tied to our capital projects. Under expenditures, general government services, you're going to notice that a lot of these I'm going to report are actually under budget at this time, but due to the early nature of the operating season, I'm projecting most of them to be on budget at the end of them. So general government services is under budget by $109,040.93 at the time of this report. Protective services is under budget by $45,566.81 at the time of this report. Transportation services under budget by $39,333.25. Environmental health under budget by $52,149.20. Public health projected to be on budget. Community services is under budget by $39,670.92. Parks and cultural under budget by $71,366.18. Resort municipality projects, you see nothing's been spent to March, but this will be projected to be on budget. Spend as much as we can. South Okanagan emergency preparedness, this is projected to be on budget. Transfer of taxes, debt, and reserves projected to be on budget. Capital expenditures also projected to be on budget this year. Under the sewer fund, we're projecting a surplus of $51,000. Under utility revenue, $51,000 in capacity charges recovered from the RDOS for the Northwest Sector Sewer Project have come into play. Billing and user fees will be processed in May, and likewise I'm projecting a surplus of $51,000. Under capital revenue, projected to be on budget, and this is tied to the capital projects. Under expenditures and operating, under budget by $120,835.19, projected to be on budget. Debt charges, this is also projected to be on budget. Capital expenditures, likewise on budget. Water fund, we're not projecting any surplus or deficit at this present time, but everything is looking in order. Our water district utility revenues, these user fees are billed out in April of May. Water utility revenue, this is the town's water revenue. The user fees are billed out also in April and May. Under the expenditures for water district operating, this is under budget at this time of $86,886.28. Under water utility operating, under budget by $122,575.19. What you'll find a big portion of the operating costs start to increase is once the summer comes into play, and we're expending a lot more in power charges for irrigation. Debt charges is projected to be on budget, and capital expenditures is also projected to be on budget. Highlights of the Sun Bowl Arena income statement to March 31st. Our revenues of $33,438.03. Revenues are up by $4,871.51 at the same time as 2013. And expenses, $121,903.06. They're up by $5,160.42 at the same time this time. And that is my information to March 31st for council for discussion.
Thanks, Director Zackel. Any questions? Director Rhodes, please.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to make a motion if it was necessary on based on the wording that's on there.
Okay.
Motion to receive.
Yeah. Okay. Seconder, Councillor Ryan. CAO Romanko, please.
Yes, Mayor Rouse. I just wanted to make a comment on Director Zackel's comment about the utility revenues for sewer capacity fees. That $51,000 additional funding came from Mr. Zackel's direct review of the re-review of the agreement with the regional district. So it was like new additional funding that came about through his efforts. So a little thank you for that.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Good eye, and after looking at the capacity report, you probably have an area to spend it in.
I'm sure we will.
Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jim, thank you very much for bringing us good news to us once again. I use this information frequently in conversations that I have with residents in the town, particularly those ones that are of a negative nature. This is something that's really good to default to. Not many communities in British Columbia can say that they're financially in the area that we're in. Most of them struggle with things that are just overwhelming in a lot of communities. And how lucky are we to be able to continue to report these kind of numbers? I know at the end of the year we get the audited version of it, and it's just it's so meaningful in a community like Osoyoos to have good, strong numbers, and I use them an awful lot for that purpose. It's a good way to deflect from bad news to good news, and it really does work, because a lot of people do not understand. They think that if a community in northern British Columbia is struggling financially, so are we, but that's not always the case. And so thanks for bringing this good news to us once again.
Well, thank you, Councillor Rhodes, and I'd just like to express that it's the policies that we've council has put in place and the adherence with the administrative staff and their frugalness in a lot of instances that's also assisting us in this.
Thanks. And just as people are getting their tax notices, but the eager beavers have been paying their taxes already, or certainly finding out what the assessment amount is. And I've been getting some positive feedback on what's happening out there. People are accepting the small increases that are there over the last couple of years. So that's always rewarding to be hearing that, rather than going through what some communities are having to go through at this time. So again, that's good administrative management. Thank you. Okay. Did we have a vote on that? Not yet. Any further? So motion to receive, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Under Business 5, Employee Recognition Policy, CAO Remenko.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. The 2014 business plan provides direction to review and develop operating policies that are contemporary, reflect the values of the community, and develop a positive corporate culture. A long-term trend in human resource and organizational development is to implementation of a service recognition program policy. Our employees contribute to the success of our organization and community in so many ways. An effective recognition solution can help us acknowledge, motivate, and reward the people who make a difference in our organization. Currently, no employee recognition policy is in place for the town of Osoyoos. As of January 1st, 2014, our organization has the following service of term employees: approximately 30 years plus 2, 29 to 29 years plus 3, 10 to 19 plus years 9, 6 to 9 years plus 9, 5 years 8. Although the policy states no reward is cumulatively retroactive, I would suggest that initial recognition be applied in 2014. In terms of implementations, community benefits from having an organization that provides a motivating environment, that provides a high level of operational service. Our organization has many staff members that have served this community for many years. A policy of this nature reflects a contemporary management practice. The implementation of this policy in 2014 would cost approximately $2,400 and can be made up in the operating budgets. Significant dates, policy implementation could occur at the Christmas event or at another structured event. So the options, maybe just a quick looking inside for the benefit of the public as to what's being considered for the recognition policy. And that's for up to 5 years would receive a service pin. Up to 10 years would receive the service pin plus $100. 15 years service pin and $150. 20 years service pin plus $200. And every 5 years over 20 years would get a service pin and $250 and a memento of recognition. The policy is reflective of direction provided by Council during Committee of the Whole, in that the monetary awards for service shall be a gift certificate from a local business of the employee's choice. So Council has the following three options being presented. Council approves this policy as presented by the administration and directs the administration to implement a 2014 program without a cumulative award at the 2014 Christmas event. Option 2, Council provides recommended changes to the policy that will be taken back to the union and exempt employees for consideration. Option 3, Council directs that an employee recognition policy not be implemented for the town of Osoyoos, and the administration recommends option number 1.
Thank you. Council, please. Councillor McCordoff.
Yes, thank you. I would be happy to move option 1, that we approve this policy as presented by the administration.
Councillor Rhodes seconding. Discussion, please. Councillor Rhodes.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to repeat what I said at the Committee of the Whole meeting. How lucky are we to have this stability in our organization? Those numbers that are, and really for me, the only thing that's really important are those numbers, years of service. I read an interesting article online from Forbes magazine. The trend in North America, Canada included, is job hopping. You move from one job to another spontaneously, usually without notice if there's an added benefit to your life. And, you know, I'm not criticizing that trend in North America, but boy, I sure like that stability. Our employees are hanging around, they're learning more and working harder and doing better in our community because of it. So, yeah, those are pretty good numbers, pretty solid numbers.
Councilman Corda.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the fact that we have a number of that, because it was pretty hard to figure out the last time exactly what it might cost, and $2,400 certainly is reasonable. I'm also very happy that the gift certificates to local businesses will be part of it. So thank you.
Yes, that's very good. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Just before we go to the next item, when you were talking about long-serving employees and the backbone they are and how good they are, if anyone's reading the sewer capacity report, you'll find reference to the Starlight Pumping Station, and you would have to be indeed a long-term employee to remember the Starlight, so that we could identify the Starlight Pumping Station.
And the blue blinker.
And the blue, oh my goodness, the blue blinker. There, I guess there would be employees here that would know where the blue blinker was and what it was, but that's definitely long-serving. Next item is under business is a progressive discipline policy. CAO Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. The 2014 business plan provides direction to review and develop operating policies that are contemporary, reflect the values of the community, and develop a positive corporate culture. An emerging trend in human resources and organizational development is the implementation of a progressive discipline policy. Progressive discipline is an employee discipline system that provides a graduated range of responses to employee performance or conduct problems. Disciplinary measures range from mild to severe, depending on the nature and frequency of the problem. All employee discipline processes are based on the principle that the employer's disciplinary response should be appropriate and proportionate to the employee's conduct. The benefits of a progressive discipline policy: using progressive discipline can help employees get back on track. Done right, progressive discipline can allow managers to intervene and correct employee behavior at the first sign of trouble. Next, enhance communication between managers and employees. Next, help managers achieve higher performance and productivity from their employees. Number 4, improve employee morale and retention by demonstrating that there are rewards for good performance and consequences for poor performance. 5, avoid expensive replacement costs. 6, ensure consistency and fairness in dealing with employee problems. And 7, lay groundwork for fair, legal, defensible employment termination for employees who cannot or will not improve. Attached is a progressive discipline policy that has been developed by the administration and the union. Both union and exempt employees have reviewed the content of the policy and are in support of implementation to achieve the benefits provided earlier in the report. In terms of I'm having a tough time with that word today. Community benefits from knowing that the town practices contemporary human resources policies that encourage productivity and a motivating environment. Organizationally, the CAO will meet with employees to review the background and implementation of the policy. Budget, just the staff time. Significant dates would be implementation after approval. In terms of options, we have 3 options, and the first being council approves the implementation of the progressive discipline policy as developed by the administration and as attached to the June 2nd report. Second option is council provides additional changes that need to be reviewed by the union and an exempt staff. And third, council denies the request to implement progressive discipline policy, and the administration recommends option 1. And I won't go into the details of the policy because they're quite elaborate. But for the sake of the public, there is a number of different actions that are commonly could occur within organizational discipline. And what we've done is identified whether our response to them that usually will be a letter of expectation, a second a written warning, a third a suspension, and the fourth is a termination. So depending on the severity of the the situation. Those are the options that are available to the management to use, and there's no connection between the two policies, even though they're.
Thank you, and I think it's a great value to have a common approach within the organization. So, council's wishes, please. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to move that we adopt it as presented.
Okay. And Councillor Rhodes seconding. Any discussion, Councillor Ryan?
Well, I think it's really important, and it lays it out very, very well. Not only the report, but the policy itself, and I think it's important that we be even-handed and fair, and that people know in advance what the stages are. So I think this lays it out very clearly, and hopefully won't have to be invoked too many times, but when it is, it's very clear.
Anything further? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And that's a good policy. Nice work on that, CAO Romanko.
The corporate service was the lead on that, and I just came in to mop up.
Okay. Nice job. Thank you. Next business would be the addition to the agenda, the gyro concession. And this would be, we have special events down there, and it just got a little out of whack, and we're just bringing it back into play. So Corporate Services, Director of Corporate Services, Ms. Van Vienen, please.
Thank you. The town entered into an agreement with Bordertown Enterprises, or Payman Sinai, in January 2013 for concession lease at Gyro Park at a lease rate of $500 per month. When the lease agreement was signed, there was agreement with Mr. Sinai that the town would not allow other vendors in Gyro Park, which would take business away from Mr. Sinai. He did, however, agree that there would be times such as July 1st Cherry Fiesta, whereby other vendors would be at the park, but he asked that they not be vendors selling the same items as his. The agreement was that any time a larger event would be taking place at Gyro and was having other vendors come in, that Mr. Sinai would be advised. With 3 large events being planned for Gyro in the next 2 months, there has been some confusion as to how the consultation with Mr. Sinai must take place and what type of vendors and items can be sold by the vendors. Staff met with Mr. Sinai on Thursday, May 29th. He advised that the various event organizers have been contacting him directly and that some of the discussions between himself, the organizers, and possible vendors have not been accurately portrayed. Mr. Sinai has no problems with other vendors being in the park. His only concern is that they do not have competing menus, which would take business away from him. During the discussions, it was determined which items he would be concerned with and which items he would welcome. There was also discussion with regard to the selling of drinks. He has no issues with basic sodas and water being sold by other vendors. However, his business sells smoothies, slushies, and other specialty drinks, and he does not want to see a vendor selling the same types of drinks. Based on this information, it was decided that an amending agreement between the town and Bordertown Enterprises would be the best way to clarify what the expectations are. The agreement attached not only addresses this, but confirms that all discussions regarding vendors must be relayed through the Community Services Department and not directly between the event organizer and Bordertown Enterprises, so that no further misunderstandings occur. And the specifics of the addendum are: all discussions regarding vendors at special events will be between the landlord and the tenant. The tenant has no concerns with regard to vendors selling foods or goods not on the tenant's menu, which will be attached to the agreement and would be subject to change from time to time. The tenant agrees specifically to the sale of soda pop and water by other vendors, but that specialty drinks such as smoothies, slushies, and other specialty drinks sold by the tenant would not be agreeable. The tenant specifically agrees to the sale of the following foods: poutine, hamburgers, pulled pork sandwiches, smoked meat sandwiches, and any foods that are deep fried. The landlord agrees that the vendors that are permitted near the concession area must not block access to the tenant's building or impede on his business. All especially vendors must be registered with the landlord, and any concerns between the tenant and the vendors must be directed to the offices of the landlord, more specifically to the Community Services Department for resolution. Implications with regards to the community: an opportunity for more food options during major events. Organizationally, Community Services continues to monitor vendors for special events. No budget implications. Significant dates: this decision must be made as soon as Cactus Jalape's event takes place on June the 7th. Sustainability, ensuring events at Gyro Beach continue to be successful. The options presented are that Council agree to the Gyro Beach concession lease agreement addendum and that the signatories for the town be authorized to sign, or that Council does not agree to the Gyro Beach concession lease agreement addendum, or that the Gyro Beach concession lease agreement addendum be returned to staff for changes and brought back to Council at a future meeting, and staff recommend option 1.
Council, please. Councilor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion, option 1, and I think I'll read it out because it was an add-on, and I don't think it's part of the material. The Council agree to the Gyro Beach concession lease agreement addendum, and that the signatories for the town be authorized to sign.
Thank you. Councilor Ryan, as seconder. Further discussion on that? Councilor McCordock.
Yeah. I would just like to point out a couple of things. Well, I'm definitely in favor of this. I think it's only fair to all the parties involved. I'd like to make sure that people who do apply for special events on town property, make sure that they fill in a special events form that is at Community Services, and I believe we would recommend that the special events form add on the Gyro Beach concession area as one of the add-ons right now onto the form, and right now all they do is ask, are you going to have any food vendors down there? Do they have insurance? Have they gone through Interior Health? And so we would like to see added on to that form that a list of the food vendors and what they're serving be included in the special events form, and then Community Services would look at it and with consultation with the people putting on the event and with Mr. Sinai decide which ones of the people that are the vendors wanting to come would be appropriate for both the event and for Mr. Sinai's protection.
Thank you. And I guess that's a bit of a question I had, was what would happen going through Community Services? What would happen if, you know, we could have vendors there on a Friday night and it could be a Monday long weekend, and if there was a dispute, that would be a lot of days to be going through a dispute there. There's no one to, you know, all our staff is off. So what would happen in that situation?
In our discussions, Mr. Davis has spoken to Mr. Sinai, and they'll have some agreement as how that contact should take place.
Okay, that would be great. That would cover a lot.
I would think also that our bylaw people would be very aware that there's supposed to be no food vendors.
Okay.
You know, at events, you know, other than, so that they would be authorized to deal with that matter as well.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else from council? Councilor McCordock.
Yeah, thank you. Just one thing, that the town and Community Services does provide a letter giving permission to the event, for the event to happen, and it does not, they are, in my experience anyway, they've never issued a letter saying that it can happen unless all of the qualifications are met. So the food vendors would have to be listed and approved. All of the other issues that might come up would definitely be okayed by everybody before a letter was sent out giving permission for the event to take place. That's my understanding. It may be a bit tricky this week because we have Cactus Jalopies on Saturday, so I think it'll be a bit of a hurried issue this week.
Maybe a good test.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. That ends the business component. Some reports to be made under the general Sun Bowl Arena and payroll accounts. Cash requirements to June the 2nd. General account of $292,584.61. Sun Bowl Arena account in the amount of $2,739.95. And for receipt only, payroll accounts in the amount of $68,461.85. Any council input? Hearing none, they will be received and adopted by consensus. Committee reports. Councillor McCordoff, you must have committee reports from something. I know we meet weekly on the Desert Live. So
well, there was a report, there was a meeting last week, and there's another one today for Desert Live, and I'm happy to report that a lot of the people from festivals were also attended, and I think they're starting to sort of work out, you know, which beer garden is going to have which fencing, and because the first 4 days of Desert Live are really the Desert Live, and the last day, July 1st. While it's considered in the Desert Live, it isn't exactly part of Desert Live, although one event at the end of the day, the last event, the last musicians before called No Sinner, before the fireworks, are part of Desert Live. But the reason that it has to be kept separate is because Cherry Fiesta gets funding from BC Lotteries and from Celebrate Canada. So those two things have to be kept separate, but I'm happy to report they're working very well together to try and make it seamless.
Thank you, and that's the report I was looking for, because they are weekly meetings, and sort of on that last report what we had was we had the marriage of the new kids on the block and the traditionalists. So it was quite interesting to watch them come together and working this through, and it is happening. It's looking pretty good. I have a lot of faith in what this concert could look like. 4 days. Sure, it's getting a lot of media attention, social media attention. So we'll just keep reporting, and as Councillor McCordoff said, there's a meeting in 25 minutes. So thank you for that. Next up would be the CAO report. CAO Romanko, please.
So that was a cue to hurry up. So just a few of the activities that the administration has been involved in over the last couple of weeks, starting first in community services, and we had automated external defibrillator training held for many of our staff, myself included. Since we've received 2 new units that are going into Sonora and into the curling club, and then we'll be moving a couple of the units, one in here and one we haven't really decided on yet. So that's a positive. Staff at the Sonora put together a day camp for the teacher strike last week, and had a full house of 15 kids registering for the day. It's been talking about winter hockey already. There's going to be a scheduling of an ice users meeting on Tuesday, June 3rd, to review ice allocations already. And Friday, as mentioned will be earlier in the committee of the whole meeting, is our opening of the splash park. So that's something that they're working on. Also, the community services master plan, the draft report will be received June 11th. June 13th, the consultants will present the draft report to the committee, and following the presentation, the second open house is scheduled for June 18th. The plan is on schedule as per the RFP. In terms of corporate services, they've been working with the Community Services Department. They've had to repost for student hiring positions. We didn't get enough local student supply, so we've had to repost. For the recreation jobs, they've been finalizing and printing the 2013 annual report, and they've finalized the MMBC brochures and garbage container mailouts. They've been working, Bylaws been working a lot on parking, dealing with some issues with boats and trailers being parked on the street. Also, they've been handing out information brochures on water usage, and trapping cats apparently is a big issue as well. And the boat trailer parking lot is being monitored, and a couple of the boats there have been cited for illegal parking, and we'll just have to deal with them very shortly. In terms of finance, property taxes have been generated and mailed out. The system now has a setup to accept homeowner grants online. So if you wish to do that, you can get your homeowner grant online. Thanks to Phyllis and Donna for their hard work on this. We've been working through resort municipality funding. They've come up with a new system. I think we've had to generate about 3 or 4 different reports for them now to meet their needs. And we've been working on the fire protection agreement with the Osoyoos Indian Band, and apparently that was dealt with at today's council meeting. So we'll be waiting the response to that. In terms of planning and development, Director met with the regional district to discuss the current operating agreement and some of the projects that will be coming through in the next little while. Also on May 29th, the Director had his first meeting with Councillors Ryan and McCordoff on the terms of reference for the Affordable Housing Authority. Myself, I've been dealing with some personnel issues. Also, the MMBC setup and operations over to landfill. Again, I ask people to have patience with our new system. I've had extended discussions with the operator there, and although a majority of people are very, very compliant, we still are having some real issues out there. So I ask that people be tolerant and follow the rules. Actually, our system is probably leap years ahead of many of the other municipalities. They're coming down to our site and taking pictures. So that's always a good thing. We had a couple of directors meet with the new director of DO, Gail Scott. We sat down and went over, got acquainted, and it looks like there's going to be a lot of connection between our planning department, our community services, and myself with DO. Met with production staff of Bollywood. They're looking at coming back to town to shoot a movie here in June. And also met with provincial land staff, and the key to the gate was provided to the Sahara Courtyard Inn, so they'll have access to to open the gate for their larger vehicles. Along with that, the signs have been moved on Cottonwood Drive to facilitate Jack Pine Lane, and also we've been dealing with the marina weeds. So that's my report for today.
Great, thank you. Do we need a motion to receive that? We might as well. Okay, Councilor McCordoff, Rhodes, all in favor. Motion has been, or the presentation has been received. Thank you. That brings us to councillor reports, and first one up is Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I certainly don't want to be responsible for delaying Councillor McCordoff's appointment in a few minutes. So, earlier in the meeting today, I put forward a motion regarding the Wish property and the public meeting that was proposed, and I just wanted to mention, just for clarity, that does not mean that we cannot receive information, and I, for one, would be very appreciative of hearing from anybody. You know, that information is relevant to this situation, and if anybody that's listening or going to listen wants to contact me, my contact information is on the town website, and I'd be very appreciative of hearing from anybody if they would like any input, and I'm going to make that my report for today.
Great report. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you. This is Seniors Week, so the question is, how do you want to celebrate that? Well, I have two suggestions. One is often seniors have difficulty doing certain things, not the least of which is operating electronic devices. If you are lifting heavy things, so if you see a senior and they seem to be needing some help, why, don't hesitate. That'd be a good thing to do this week. The other is, you might want to strike up a conversation and learn about their life and times. So anyway, just find a way of your own to celebrate Seniors Week. I was able to attend the Air Cadets ceremonial review on Sunday, and it was very nice. It's their annual review where they strut their stuff and they show the kinds of things that they've learned, and also particularly their marching, but also some of their other skills that they've learned. And I was told that one of the reasons why we don't have too many cadets from Osoyoos, I think we have 3, and I think the commanding officer is from Osoyoos. but it's because of transportation. They have to go to the hangar up in Oliver, and it's on a Wednesday evening from 6:15 to 9:15. So I'm going to mention a number, and I think we can put this on our website, but also maybe we can have it on the crawl when this is on air. And it is, if you want to join, or if you want to assist in some way, or particularly with transportation, 250-498-0418. And hopefully we will get more young people joining from Osoyoos. The Lawn Bowlers had a very successful open house for clubs throughout the interior, and there were 40 guests on Saturday who came as far away as Salmon Arm and Kamloops, as well as Vernon, Kelowna, Penticton, and Oliver. So I think the club is talking about a challenge to the staff and the council. So I just want you to be prepared, and perhaps, in your spare time, just go down and throw a few bowls and get ready for that challenge. I attended lunch with Enbridge on the Northern Gateway Pipeline, and apparently we're expecting a decision this month, and maybe even sooner than the end of the month. So we gave them our decision as to what should happen. So I don't know if that's going to be different from what the Prime Minister says, but we shall see. And congratulations to the soap players, a very successful production of Lend Me a Tenor, and I hope many of you got to see it. That's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Pond.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. So I'm just going to go over a couple of different events. Obviously, first on my list is the Osoyoos Splash Park grand opening. Looking forward to seeing everyone down there on Friday, June 6th from 3 to 5. Where we'll do our ribbon cutting, and we'll have some refreshments and some face painting and all different things happening. Right now the weather is holding steady. Looks like it's going to be a great day to get wet. So come down and be prepared. So it's going to be a good time, and I just want to say a big thank you to Gerald Davies, who's done just a fabulous job really keeping this online. If you go down there, the progression that we've been making as far as the painting of the buildings and everything is looking really good down there. And so Gerald's been putting some long hours into that, so I appreciate everything he's done, and the volunteers as far as who's done some of the finishings and as far as the washrooms and the painting. Thank you all for the work that's been done, and looking forward to the grand opening. Then I went onto our website, because I always like to do that, is to see what kind of events are happening on Saturday. I know of a couple, and then I go on this thing, and there are so many events in this town. To say that you have nothing to do on Saturday would be totally wrong. So one of the things that came up for me obviously was Cactus Jalopies, JF Customs. They're setting up down by the Gyro Park. There's going to be all different types of beautiful cars. We've seen some beautiful cars in the last weekend that were up at Spirit Ridge, and this will just continue on to this weekend with some of the beautiful work that they're doing. You're going to see motorcycle stunt shows, all different types of things happening down there this weekend. You've also always got the flea market that's open from 8 to 1. I'm noticing we also have our fundraiser for the Desert Society that's happening as well. Just want to make sure this comes up properly. And these are all, again, on our website, on our town website, so please check them out as we go here. And yeah, so the fundraiser, again, is happening this Saturday for the Desert Park Derby Nights, they call it. Now, I know Stu's heavily involved in this, so I'm looking forward to hearing more about that after that night. But it's at Watermark on June 7th, and it's from 6 to midnight, and it's $50. And again, looking for an entertaining night, I'm sure. And last thing I just wanted to bring up was Jim Zackel, the Director of Finance, who has done a great job this year, again, putting together a team of Osoyoos to go to the True Engineering Ronald McDonald House, BC, for fundraiser hockey tournament. again, we go, usually I get to play, and I didn't get to play this year, so I kind of missed out. But that was on the May 24th weekend. And this year, and maybe it's because I didn't go, but we ended up winning both the fundraiser, top fundraiser for the tournament, and also the championship for tournament champions. Way to go, team. And we had our enforcer, the CAO, Barry Menko, on that team. So great job. I just reading over the email that we got from Jim, just talking about the funds that were raised. So I'm just going to read that. This year's tournament raised $25,000 for the Ronald McDonald House of BC. This represents 333 nights in the new Ronald McDonald House BC for families in need, and brings the total amount raised to date to over $155,000. So congratulations to everyone that was involved in the tournament. Those are a great group of people that work for our town, that get together, play hockey, and do it for a really good cause. So congratulations to all of them. And it was great to see Jim Zackel. Did he play at all, or was he just Don Cherry coach?
No, he played the first game and then figured that we needed coaching.
He needed coaching.
We needed direction.
I saw a picture of it. Fantastic Don Cherry outfit he wore for his coaching debut. So great job, Jim Zackel. Thanks for all your efforts in always organizing that. So thanks again.
Great. Thanks for that report, Councillor Plante. Councillor McCordoff, please.
Yes, thank you. Well, I also attended the Lend Me a Tenor. It was fabulous. Those actors in there did an amazing job. Thoroughly enjoyed it, laughed through the whole thing. I always appreciate soap plays. They're extremely well done. I was also at the museum planning session one night, the RDOS Regional Heritage Strategic Plan, and we sat there talking to these people. They wanted to know what was important about Osoyoos, and boy, did we give them. We were there for a couple hours. We gave them a whole. I didn't mention the blue blinker substation, but we did mention the ditch and all kinds of things we could remember over the years, and they were busy writing them down. There's a couple of other things on this Saturday that Councillor Plante did not mention. I mean, you could go to 3 or 4 or 5, 6 things this Saturday. One of them is the Catholic Church, Councillor Ryan, it is the Festival of the Holy Spirit. Yes.
Dinner. Mm-hmm. Right.
Dinner and dance, and it's at the Sonora Center on Saturday night. There is also Relay for Life for the Cancer Society. That is from 12 o'clock noon until 12 midnight at the Osoyoos Elementary School. And you know, like, and I'm not sure whether you meant when you said the flea market, do you mean Market on Main, Councillor Plante? Well, it's not a flea market. I need to point that out. Definitely not a flea market.
Whoops.
But it is also on every Saturday, and we have excellent entertainment, local entertainment at that. We had Tony Zelko playing the accordion last week, and I think we have. I'm not gonna say because I'll get it wrong, but we have excellent entertainment every week. Last night I was at the royalty speech event. It was a dinner put on by Troy and his crew. It was excellent. Steak and mushrooms, if you can believe it. And then the girls, 5 of them that are running for Miss Osoyoos, gave speeches on topics of their choice. Martha, Stu's wife, said, "That's the best speech I've ever heard in my life." They were that good that you know, all of them deserve kudos. They were about 4 or 5 minutes long. They were memorized. They were amazing. So the next event that is happening is on June 30th, and it will be up at the Osoyoos Secondary School Theater. It's not called the Mini Theater anymore. And it will be the crowning of Miss Osoyoos, and I think it'll be a great event. One other thing before our council meetings next time is the horse races on June the 14th, and I'm sure there will be lots of us up there. I have to go for training again to run the machines. I don't do them very often, and so I need a refresher course on that. Anyway, we like to support Desert Park horse racing, and that would be on the 14th. So plenty of things to do. The weather's great. You can go and play ball, you can golf, you can go swimming, you can go boating, you can go to any one of these events, and please enjoy our wonderful town.
Thanks for that report, Councillor McCordoff. When you mentioned the theater at the school, did we get the word community in there? Did you win that?
No, not yet, but we're working on it.
Well, you keep digging. It's going to be called the Osoyoos Secondary Community Theater. Isn't that right?
Not yet.
Oh, thank you. On my report, yeah, a lot of it has been said and covered. Did have a CAO Romanko and I did have a very interesting meeting with RCMP inspectors for the whole southern interior from Hope to the Alberta border, and along with another officer from Ottawa, and there will be some changes that will be available. It's not really public knowledge yet, but there will be some small changes here with some of the RCMP option presentations that are not on your daily police, but some changes are coming. So I thought that was very interesting for the town. Desert Park, I got up there and pulled weeds for 4 hours on Saturday morning, getting ready for the production, and of course the racing on, and that's the 14th. Is that the 14th, 15th?
No, just the 14th, the Saturday.
Just the one day? Yeah. Okay, thank you. And last week we did Access Awareness Proclamation. Mike Stiles and Dan Bauer came up. Dan lived here about 3 or 4 years ago, moved to Vancouver Island, got really involved in access for people with disabilities and creating paths and lodges and that. So he's moved back to Osoyoos, and it's great to have his energy back here. And of course the town did an awareness proclamation. The Enbridge presentation, the regional heritage was very good. Claire's Big Ride, while that was a full 10 days ago or something now, that was very, very exciting to see the effect that had on the town, and what an energized person she is, a true motivational speaker and liver. That was so neat. The royalty, following up on Councillor McCordoff, wow, is that ever a whiz-bang group of girls they got there? There's 5 of them there. I sure wouldn't want to be in any judging process whatsoever. That's going to be some real tough decisions out there. Lend Me a Tenor was great, and that June the 7th, that has to be the all-time perfect function storm. There's more things going on June the 7th than I could ever imagine. That's just going to be a real fun weekend, and so much to do and be entertained by. If you've got anyone around in the valley, tell them to get down to Osoyoos, because there's just events galore. Maybe that's what we should call that day. Anyway, I think that's it. That's my report. CAO Romanko.
Just one quick thing I forgot, a reminder to the public that next council meeting on June 16th at 1 o'clock is the annual meeting.
Okay.
So if you're interested in hearing of a review of last year's business, it's the annual meeting at 1 o'clock.
AGM at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I actually get to say something that's not repeated that I'm not repeating the councillors on. Nobody mentioned taxes. Councillor Ryan, you forgot to get taxes in.
I mentioned it the last time.
Okay, it's my turn?
It's your turn, yeah.
The tax notices are out there. Please, do your post-dated check, do your online banking. We keep hoping for that year where there's nobody that misses out and comes up with a sad tale of woe, and they are sad, where they have to get a 10% penalty and don't get their homeowner's grant and things like that. So do look after your neighbor. If you have an elderly neighbor or anything, make sure they get their taxes paid. There's many ways to do it, but let's get them in. That's the goal of Osoyoos, is to not have anyone miss out this year. So, having said that, the motion to adjourn is coming from McCordoff, Ryan. All in favor? We are adjourned. Have a great sunny afternoon. At 4:28, we have 2 minutes to make our meeting with Desert Live.